Welcome to Tuesday morning. Time now for the news review. And of course, you know how we do it. Mapito Sibidi in the house.
Good morning, Benjamin. How you doing?
I'm well. How about you?
I'm great, thank you.
Sleep well?
Did I? Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
Mine was a bit here and
Shaky.
there. The onset of, a cold and all of that. But I had to deal with it.
I hope you dealt with it because I don't want to get infected.
Oh, no. I have these nasal drops together with a few things that I use when there's the onset of it, just to ensure that it doesn't, grip me or put me down.
I hope it doesn't.
It won't.
We need you here.
Cross my heart. Hope not to die. All right, let's get into the papers this morning. Quite a number of issues to look at. I have the Ghanaian Times newspaper, Graphic Business, the Meridian, and the Daily Statesman. What do you have?
I have Daily Guide, I have the Finder, I also have the Chronicle, Daily Graphic, and my last paper is the Daily Graphic.
Okay, so let's take a look at your stack of papers.
All right, let's start with Daily Guide and the Finder. They have the same story, and bring down hammer on Aisha and Co. That's the top story on the Daily Guide. Also on the Finder, prosecutes Aisha Wang and Co. So that is from the president. Let's see the story on page 3. President Akufo-Addo has backed the decision of the Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame to prosecute Aisha Huang, a notorious player in illegal mining popularly known as Galamsey. According to the president, Aisha should be prosecuted together with her collaborators, and if found guilty, they should be made to face the full rigors of the law, particularly the new Act 995. So now Act 995 is an amendment of the Minerals and Mining Act 2006, Act 703, to increase the penalties for, and in quotes, a person who buys or sells minerals without a license or a valid authority or engages in mining contrary to a provision of the Act, and to provide for related matters. Let me just read this one. Under this Act, which was passed in 2019, persons engaging in illegal mining are liable to 15 to 25 years of custodial sentences. That's an improvement from the minimal penalties, and custodial sentences to the old Act. So 15 to 25 years of custodial sentences. We also have one that says Aisha 1 6 tape ready to bam. Okay, so that is a cartoon. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it? Mr. Cameraman, would you like to zoom for me? No. Okay. So yeah, it's Aisha 1 6 tape. We discussed that yesterday, where Kweku Baku says, or is alleging that Aisha 1 must have some sex tapes of some really big men.
That makes for very interesting. I'm curious, but at the same time, like I mentioned yesterday, is there going to be personal preservation, which is paramount to most people, versus communal preservation. And then again, we look at what Galamsey is doing to our landscape, our water bodies, and all of that. And we'll ask ourselves, so for how long are we going to tolerate this? And the fact that she comes, whether sneaking in or coming in with official recognition into our country once more, it's really sad. It tells you about how broken our system really is. But the impunity. Anyway, let's check out some other stories.
We also
later
have
today when I engage Mr. Ahiagba, hopefully we can also delve into some of these issues.
Hopefully. And another interesting story is a story on page 6. A woman 32 murdered 10 days after wedding.
Whoa.
It's a very, very sad story. A 32-year-old immigration officer has been murdered in cold blood in her husband's house 10 days after marriage. A suspected murderer allegedly dumped her bloody body in the room of her rival, the first wife of her husband, at Abeka. Those who attended the colorful marriage ceremony on August 26, 2022 did not know they would soon be attending the Islamic funeral for the bride. So literally 10 days after getting married, she was found murdered in her rival's. Are
there any details about, how this came to be? Who was the accused? Who was the suspect?
Okay, so let me continue. The deceased was found with a deep cut on her throat and her thigh, and an iron rod was also said to have been pushed into her head. According to the brother of the deceased, the family suspects foul play. He added that the family will resist any attempt at burying the deceased hurriedly. They have therefore called on the police service to investigate the case. And so this is the brother saying that I had a call around 9 p.m. that my sister has been stabbed. So I thought it was a mere thing. To my surprise, she was killed in the room and dragged into a different room in the compound house, the rival's room.
The rival's room?
Yes. Obviously the rival.
So I'm supposing whoever married her had multiple wives.
Just one wife.
Just one wife.
Which is the first wife.
Okay.
So the murdered came in as a second wife.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But
so
because
she now became the rival, so to speak.
The first wife.
Yes. So both of them are
rivals.
Yes,
to speak. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So
because obviously, with her throat slit and something pushed into her head, that can't be natural.
Of course not. So
and you know what is pretty interesting here? You know, according to Islamic rituals or rites, you're buried within 12 hours after. Is it 12 or 24 hours after your demise?
Yeah, I think so.
But very hurriedly. But in this instance, the family is calling for that to be set aside for an autopsy and all of that to be conducted. And I think that makes sense, of course. They need to get down to the bottom of it, what, actually led to her demise.
Yeah, so hopefully they can work on that and we can get details and the family can,
So sad.
I mean, it's terrible.
10 days after wedding.
Can you imagine, like your happiest, for most women, your happiest day, and then 10 days later, oh, I don't even want to.
Well,
yeah.
We can only, condole with the family and wish them the very best. And hopefully, sometimes it's I forget the word, but getting to the bottom of it gives you some closure. That is what I'm looking for. Some closure, getting to the bottom of it. And if the killer is identified and punished accordingly, if there was foul play, then at least it'll bring them some closure. But let's get into the Ghanaian Times newspaper. A lot of food for thought. National Cathedral will be built at all costs. President vows. The last time we checked, we put the sums of money together. It would have cost us some $547 million, including compensation for those whose buildings were razed to the ground and other claims that have been made, all of that. People whose offices had been in that area who are now likely any judgment debts or whatever that could arise from those. But
so what, 540?
$7 million.
Okay.
Yeah, as per our last calculation.
Okay.
And he says it will be seen through. I'll give you some details of that story. 8.8 million Ghanaians live in slums. That's according to a latest NDPC report. And will prosecute Aisha Huang, others. President throws weight behind AG. Lembele, DCE clears air on missing excavators. Let's start
Benjamin,
with what
before you give us details, let's welcome our guest, Liz Efron Asari, who's a media consultant. Good morning, Madam. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, Liz.
Welcome back, Ben.
Thank you, Liz. Good to have you on board again. So we're just talking about some stories in the Daily Guide and this unfortunate happening of a woman getting married and 10 days later being found dead. But I just started with the Ghanaian Times newspaper. I'll bring some details on those stories quickly and we'll take it from there. So we'll prosecute Aisha Huang, others. President throws weight behind AG. And the president has lent his full support to the AG to prosecute persons found to be engaging in illegal mining in the country. Speaking at the 2022 Bar Conference of the Ghana Association, that is the Ghana Bar Association, yesterday, President Akufo-Addo noted that the onset of the Fourth Republic, some 29 years ago, Ghana had witnessed the longest period of stability and economic growth. According to him, during this period of the Fourth Republic, we have witnessed sustained growth in the size of the economy, rising levels of per capita real income, systematic expansion, and all of that. But he also made mention of the fact that, on the contrary, the government is in full support of responsible small-scale mining activities as they provide an avenue for Ghanaians to participate in the mining industry and contribute substantially to our gold exports. So we know about community mining, we know about small-scale mining, but there's the other aspect of it, which is galamsey, and that is what has become rather problematic. I'm sure you followed the entire issue to do with Aisha Huang coming back into the country, whether sneaking or getting in officially. What is your take? And is it enough for Mr. President to say, Mr. AG, go ahead, deal with them ruthlessly, when in fact, we had the opportunity to do so in the first instance. We let her slip through our fingers, and Senior Minister Yao Safo-Mafu came out to say that it's not incarcerating her that will solve our problems, so to speak. Your take, Liz.
I think that we have discussed this thing in, out, up, down, and I was wondering why it had to take the president to say that she must be prosecuted, because if she has been caught a second time, I mean, let the law take its course. I mean, anybody who is found doing something untoward in the country has to face the law. And they shouldn't take the president to put a backing to it. We should let the law take its course. We should stand firm as Ghanaians and make sure that the right things for us is done. And so for me, it's neither here nor there. I didn't expect them to do anything other than prosecute her this time. And I would say that when you look at the circumstances within which she came in, whether she sneaked in or not, I believe that she got some help from somewhere. And so we should be looking for those who are helping her. Because if we prosecute her and incarcerate her, I have seen cases where even from prison, people have been able to continue with their businesses, be it illegal or legal. So we should be able to get hold of her accomplices, because I believe she does have accomplices. She just can't come into Ghana and start illegal mining without any help, because then where does she start from? So we need to make sure that we round everybody up and deal with this thing once and for all.
Okay, doke. Two quick stories and it's a wrap. So President Akufo-Addo has reasserted his determination to build the National Cathedral. He said the National Cathedral project was something dear to his government, stressing that it would be built at all costs to the glory and honor of God. That's the first story. The second one, on page 17, 8.8 million Ghanaians live in slums, and the number of people living in slums increased from 5.5 million in 2017 to 8.8 million in 2020. Ghana's 2022 Voluntary National Review Report on the Sustainable Development Goals implementation has actually revealed. Now, the figure represents an increase of about 60%, according to the report, which is compiled and published by the National Development Planning Commission. The UN Programme on Human Settlements defines a slum as, quote, a contiguous settlement where the inhabitants are characterized as having inadequate housing and basic services. So that is the situation there. It tells you as well about how we have failed as a country when it comes to affordable housing. Your quick reactions to these two stories, and it's a wrap for this paper.
The first one, the National Cathedral, I'll just say that if a blind man says that he'll throw a stone, he must have his foot on one. So the president must know something that we don't, because we are looking at other priorities that we think that we have in hospitals and schools and other basic infrastructure that people need, and linking it to the slums. We know that we need to put more money into a housing deficit so that people will get proper accommodations and proper places to sleep. So it will be built at all costs, at whose expense? Is my question. And therefore, I think that if the president has all the details for it, then he must let us know exactly what it's going to be, and it wouldn't be at the taxpayers' expense, because there are other things that we need our taxes for. Talking about the slums, I'm not surprised that we have had more slums come up, because if you look at where our residential areas used to be, a lot of those residential areas have been turned into offices and their office projects. If you look at all our residential areas, you see big offices and shops and things like that. So people are being pushed out of where they used to live. And if people are moving outside of Accra, and you have people who are coming in and don't have anywhere to stay because they are not all that well to do, then you have the slums growing. And if you have slums growing, it means that we have failed as a people, because then we don't have affordable housing for those who can't be living in those residential areas. And if you move out of the residential areas, you realize that the lands on the periphery are what people will use. Anything they come by, they will settle on, and that is what is happening now. And so our slums are growing, and our residential areas are being turned into non-residential areas, more offices and more official buildings and shops and all kinds of things.
Well, it's interesting, Mapito. So as she says all of this, we also know that, the National Cathedral project has stalled in a way because of funding, partly owing to funding. Recently, we heard from the person in charge and how contributions are trickling in and all of that. And we also heard from, I think, Reverend Dr. Joyce Aye about the fact that they want the rest of it, apart from the seed money, to come from ordinary Ghanaians, individuals, people of goodwill. The question is, now that the project seems to have run out of funding, and there also is that trickle effect when it comes to funding pouring in, and the cost of material now, iron rods, cement, everything is skyrocketing. Put that side by side with Mr. President saying that we are going to do this. Like you said, maybe his leg is on some stone, and he knows what he's talking about. Liz actually made mention of that. But let's check out some other stories.
All right, let's go to the Daily Graphic. And stop attacks on judiciary. That's according to the president, who has asked the citizens to disregard persons who make remarks against the judiciary and the Electoral Commission for selfish and partisan reasons. He said independent judges administering the law, protecting the human rights of citizens, and ensuring public accountability were strong pillars of the country's democracy. Also on page 20, Special Prosecutor asks Customs to resume action or auction of vehicles. You can get that story on page 20. And the last one is continuous voter registration begins end of the year. The EC will commence the continuous voter registration exercise by the end of the year. Mrs. Spencer said the exercise, which was meant to replace the limited voter registration system that had been used since 1992, would ensure an all-year-round registration of Ghanaians who turn 18 years and those who had not been previously registered. Liz, do you have any thoughts on our three stories? Stop attacks on judiciary. Special prosecutor asks Customs to resume auction of vehicles, and continuous voter registration begins end of year.
It would have been interesting to know a little detail on why the Customs are asking for the reopening of the auctions of the vehicles. Have they done their investigations and found that there's nothing untoward, and therefore they're calling for the reopening of auctions? If they haven't done, if they have done, I mean, what was the outcome of the investigations? Because I haven't heard anything with regard to that. So you stop auctioning and then you start auctioning. And the question is why? What has changed? What is different? So he probably needs to explain to us exactly what
Let me read from page 20, the investigations part. The OSP also asked the division to comply with the ongoing investigations. The Customs Division should cooperate with and work closely with authorized officers of the OSP in respect of the investigations and the conduct of auction sales. The OSP has been investigating suspected corruption and corruption-related offences in respect of the auction sale of vehicles and other goods by the Customs Division of the GRA between July 1, 2016 and August 15, 2022. The last paragraph reads, on August 19, 2022, the Special Prosecutor directed the Commissioner of the Customs Division to halt all auction sales to aid investigation into suspected corruption and corruption-related offences. So that's all it gives us.
So it means that the investigations have not been concluded. So the question is, why are we reopening the auctions? because I would have thought that we would want to put an end to the rot that is happening before we start re-auctioning or reopening the auction. The issue with the judges, I don't think I have much to say. I think that the judges themselves need to defend their integrity and stand tall. When people start to point fingers at the judiciaries because they probably are not settled in themselves, or because we do not see the judiciary as standing tall and being as independent as we expect them to be. So if the judiciary is being singled out by some, what are the reasons for their being singled out? I think that the judiciary needs to protect its own integrity, stand tall, deal with its issues without fear or favor. And then when they are pointed out, I believe that they should be able to come out and speak for themselves and say exactly what has caused them to do certain things, so that people won't continue to try to color them. I believe that it behoves on the judiciary to come out and make sure that they're standing tall, they're standing clean, and everybody gives them the respect they deserve.
Let's check out some more stories now. Graphic business is next, and Ghana's SME sector faces 6.1 billion US dollar funding gap. That's according to the World Bank. And there's a bit of a chart there. So SMEs constitute about 90% of businesses. Then 80%, they employ more than 80% of the workforce. They contribute more than 70% to GDP. And Access Bank, for example, has disbursed about 50 million to SMEs under its collateral-free loan scheme, and more than 6,500 have benefited from the loan scheme. That's according to data from the World Bank and reflecting Ghana's SME sector. Access Bank Graphic Business SME Clinic and the SMEs secure collateral-free loans, and that story there as well. Ghana Club 100 Awards revived. Nominations open for applicants. I think I'm going to be nominating Mapito CBD for different reasons.
They said what?
Ghana Club 100 Awards revived. Of course, it has to do with companies, entities, and all of that. Okay. But I know you're going to be a business tycoon soon, a business mogul. You should be saying amen.
You should relax. Be saying amen. I was about to say I tap into it. I received a message.
We'll have businesses in South Africa, Ghana, Kenya, Rwanda, all over the place. Eish. Commonwealth must recalibrate to benefit member states. That's according to Dr. Ankra, especially on the back of the demise of Queen Elizabeth II, who reigned for some 70 years. Mm-hmm. Most people don't live up to 70 nowadays, and her reign alone was as 70, long as 70 years. That's interesting. GCB Capital sees August inflation at 34%. I'll take a quick look at that story and give an interesting thought to the bit about the Commonwealth and the Queen. Let me turn to page 23. Yes, here it is. So GCB Capital has projected a strong jump in inflation to 34% for August. The investment arm of the largely state-owned lender, GCB Bank, said it expected the increased CD depreciation to combine with other inflationary pressures to spike the rate for August. Inflation peaked at 31.7% in July, and I'm awaiting the August figure after resuming an upward trend in November last year. With the next reading due for September 14, GCB Capital said nothing showed that the upward trajectory would reverse. So here's my concern. Inflation is still going up. We expect it to slow a bit getting to the tail end of the year, but it's not showing any signs yet. On the other hand, we enjoyed a bit of stability, a bit of depreciation of other currencies against our CD when we got the 750 million Afrexim Bank loan. But all of a sudden, the dollar, the euro, the pound have bounced back again, and it's not looking so good. Your quick thoughts on that? I want practical. I always want the practical aspect of it. How is this reflecting in your life, Liz?
In my life, I think that I'm managing. I'm going by I mean, every day you go out, the prices of things have changed. And like you said, there was a slow, but it's picking up again. And I would say that I believe that our inflation is because we still are not looking at what we are producing and patronizing what we are producing. We are still bent on getting things from outside. Again, I think that our inflation, the fuel is not helping much because we are exporting crude and we are importing finished products, and it comes at a cost. And then again, I realized that a few of the people who can are now saving their monies in dollars instead of in cedis. And so you realize that the dollar still will be scarce because people think that in the long run, if they have the dollar and the CD keeps depreciating, they still have their money at the safe because they have converted it into dollars. And so we would still grapple a bit with our inflation and our depreciation of the CD. And if we do not take steps to ensure that we are more into CDs rather than into dollars, it will continue for a while. Again, even when you're talking about small and medium enterprises, you realize that they import half-finished products and then finish up the products. So they also are importing. And their raw materials for production and things are being imported, and then they put finished products on the market. And that also raises the cost of production. And so the things that are even made in Ghana are not cheap. And you might even get cheaper imports than the product produced from our country. And that is what is probably hurting us a lot. If we would start using our products from scratch,
right,
then we probably would be adding value to what we ourselves have, to our resources that we have. But that is not what we are doing. We are exporting our raw materials, importing half processed, and then finishing it up. So that again would continue to escalate inflation and put cost of living high.
So just to wrap very briefly on this comment, Queen Elizabeth, so the Commonwealth must recalibrate to benefit member states. That's according to Dr. Sam Ankra, a development economist who has said the death of the Queen should be an opportunity for the incoming leadership of the Commonwealth to recalibrate the association to make it more meaningful and impactful for member states. I watched, and there have been different opinions on the passing of the Queen. Some who said she was beloved, others who said she was a figure representative of imperialism. I watched a TikTok video of an Iraqi, I think she's a British citizen, but her roots are from Iraq. And she says for her, she doesn't see what all the fanfare is about, especially as you know, Britain colonized Iraq after they took it from the Ottoman Turks, and that the atrocities and everything that they stand for, a lot of that was during her time. And you know that Ghana, we gained our independence in 1957. And the person was simply saying that if we will laud her for the good things, we must also chastise her for the bad things. In terms of memories, how do you feel about this, Queen Elizabeth II?
In time, my memories.
Yes.
I think that a good thing is the PR that was done for her was positive. And therefore, if you look at the documentaries that are coming out, we are only seeing the positives. Again, people do not like to remember their pain. And I agree that if we are praising her for the good sides, we should be chastising her for the bad, because we don't want that to recur. And so we need to balance it. But I think on the whole, 70 years on the throne, I have seen a good side of her. I have seen a positive side of her being portrayed. I have seen some aspects of her that puts her above many. because you see her relating to the high and mighty, and you see her relating to the very low. So for me, I would give her that respect. She probably did carry herself well. The atrocities that were done in the past, let us leave in the past. We can mend and heal if we want to, or we can hold on to it and decide not to move from there. But I believe that we need to move from there, and therefore call for a recalibration of the Commonwealth is a very good thing. And I think that the voices of those who belong to the Commonwealth should be more pronounced. They should be heard also. They should be the voice of us who have been colonized and have suffered all kinds of atrocities as a result of colonization. But again, we need to be able to get ourselves out of that and make sure that we are standing on our feet. Because if you're looking at us right now as a country, Ghana in the Commonwealth, we have gained political independence, but we haven't gained any other independence. Economically, we are dependent on so many things. And so if we want to make noise and if we want to blow a trumpet, then we should be working harder than we are right now.
Thank you very much, Liz. Well, I don't have many stories left here, but it's just to find out what's the big story being prosecutes Aisha Huang and co. And we also have MPA chases 45 OMCs over 68 million Ghana CD debt. And the last one is farmers count their losses after the spillage of the Bagri Dam. Benjamin.
Okie doke. Let's look at the Meridian newspaper now. And Wager Dam compensation paid to unknown miscreants. Ashali Blafo family calls for investigations. And these stories always get me, excited and thinking about our land tenure system and how all of these things tend to happen. But, that's how it's possible sometimes to purchase land 1, 2, 3, 4, basically multiple times from different sources.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is what the Ashali Blafo family is talking about. They are calling for investigations. And pictured here, Jasiche, an acting chief of Wager, Ogbedada Boafo Danyinanse, the first pictured there. NPA to name and shame defaulting OMCs, oil marketing companies. Aisha Huang's arrest, small-scale miners. President apologizes to government officials over false allegations, and then will overcome current economic challenges, Akufo-Addo assures. Let's get into a few of the stories. So the MPA is to name and shame defaulting OMCs, and the authority wishes to advise the underlisted 45 oil marketing companies. I'm not going to mention their names because I can't mention all of them, so I'll not mention some and leave others.
Yeah.
But who are indebted to the Primary Distribution Margin Fund to settle their debts by the 30th of September 2022, basically by close of month. And then there is that issue, will overcome current economic challenges. In fact, that will be my final story. That's from Mr. President. But for me, Ghana 4, and to you, Liz, and to you, Mapito Sibidi, I wish sometimes when we talk about these, we would do rather than talk. We would do rather than say we will do. I don't know, what do you think? Over to you, Mapito and Liz. I'll start with you, Liz.
I agree. I think that we speak too much. There are too many words and very little action. And so we are always talking, and that's why we are always going around in circles, because we speak, do nothing, and we are at square one. We are marking time and just talking and not doing anything about it. So I agree with you. We need to deal with the issues as they come. And if we do not nip it in the bud and it festers, then it becomes more difficult to deal with. And that is our bane. It says a stitch in time saves 9. And we do not do the stitch in time, and therefore we have the 9 stitches, and even with the 9 stitches, we probably would wait till they're 15 or 20. And so we need to deal with issues. When we speak it, we need to deal with it there and then. If we don't, then too bad for us.
Too bad for us.
If we don't, too bad for us. Your thoughts?
Liz has said everything. Yeah, Liz has said everything. And on that note, we'd like to say thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much, Liz. I know you don't follow too much football, but I'm trying to rope you in to support Kumasi Asante Kotoko, because if you care to know, I think, was it Aduana Stars that pipped Accra Hearts of Oak. You support Accra Hearts of Oak?
No, I support Kotoko.
All right, so
Yeah.
Aduana Stars, I think, beat Accra Hearts of Oak. First match of the season, and the Phobian boys lost. And we, of course, won our Champions League match against Beninese side Kadiogo. My director is whispering into my ear that it was a lucky goal, but all goal be goal.
That's
so
right.
we won the match.
That gets me the 3 points.
3 points in the bag, and that's it. Anyway, thank you so much, Liz. Let me add my voice.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Same.
Thank you.
Mapito,
Yeah.
this was a good one.
What was that?
All right, so up next we have sports.
Yeah.
Which local team do you support?
I said Kotokola.
Kumasi Asante Kotoko.
Yeah. My blood is red.
I've always had, those with multicolored blood in the
Like
next to me, but-
me Asante Hema.
We Asante Hima.
Me Asante
We are
Hema.
Hima,
Me Hema.
Mapito Sibidi flaunting her stuff. Well, sports is up next. We'll be telling you about the Ghana Premiership and bringing you international sporting news as well. Do stay.